Recep Tayyip Erdogan has once again emerged victorious as Turkey's High Electoral Board has confirmed his win in the country's first runoff presidential elections. The victory extends his 20-year rule by another 5 years. Erdogan faced his toughest challenge against the main opposition leader and candidate of the Nation Alliance, Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu. In a victory speech to a jubilant crowd in Istanbul on Sunday evening, Erdogan said, quote, "We deserve your trust."
I would like to express my gratitude to all our citizens who demonstrated their determination for the future, both for themselves and their children, by casting their votes in the elections.
During his address, Erdogan emphasized the importance of continuing the work and stressed the need to regain the Istanbul mayorship next year as the country prepares for local elections. Erdogan also reiterated his commitment to rebuilding Turkey's disaster zone, which was devastated by massive earthquakes in February. He expressed gratitude to those in the affected region who braved challenging conditions to cast their votes. Kemal Kılıçdaroğlu, the opposition candidate, conceded but criticized the electoral process.
We witnessed the most unfair election in recent years. All state resources were mobilized for a single political party. Every possibility was provided to one individual.
Thousands of Erdogan's supporters took to the streets to celebrate his victory, with Erdogan winning the presidency by a narrow margin of around 52%. Despite Erdogan's pledge to govern all 85 million citizens of the country, Turkey remains deeply divided and polarized. I'm Michal Bardavid for CGTN in Istanbul.
We're now joined by Thembise Fakude, Senior Research Fellow at Africa-Asia Dialogues in Istanbul. Thank you so much for joining us on World Today, Thembise. What are your thoughts about the re-election of Erdogan as Turkish president?
I think it's going to reinstall some sort of stability. There was a lot of anxiety and uncertainty during this election, particularly for the millions of immigrants in this country, both legal and illegal, on what was going to be happening. So the election of President Tayyip Erdogan will restore that, that stability. But importantly, it's also going to enable the government to carry on with its projects of trying to resuscitate the economy and also rebuild after that devastating earthquake in Turkey.
Thembise, what we know is that there's a lot happening in that region. What does Erdogan's victory mean for regional geopolitics?
I think for regional geopolitics is that most of the Arab countries, particularly in the Middle East, see Turkey as a leader in terms of socio-political and economic activity. You have thousands of people from the Middle East, particularly Gulf countries, who are investing in this country and also coming here for tourism, particularly after what has been happening to them in the Western countries. So Turkey is seen as that oasis, or for many of the Arabs within the region, it kind of marries both Islamic culture and democracy. So it's good to see what's been happening. So for the region, I think there was an element of excitement, hence the congratulatory statements that came from the region amongst the very first few that came after the announcement of President Erdogan's victory.
Well, let's talk a little bit about what's happening. I mean, impact on the African continent, and just in terms of influence as well, given Turkey's recent move to strengthen its presence on the African continent. What should we expect for the continent in his next term now?
I think we must expect the engagement with Turkey. We already know that Turkey has increased its embassies in Africa to about over 40 or so. So they've been very aggressive in terms of resuscitating that relationship. So we're going to see that happening, especially now with many countries going to Africa to compete for resources. Turkey is one of those countries. So it's going to be quite interesting to see them moving forward. I think economically they're going to re-engage with Africa. They've already indicated strategically investing in particularly East Africa. They were the first one to have an airport and Turkish airline flying to Somalia, for example. So overall, in South Africa, they're investing a lot of money. Overall, I think Turkey is going to be aggressive in terms of its commitment to Africa, but particularly economic commitment to the continent.